Well, I don't want to kick a turd here, but um, I'm sorry, the farm terms come out sometimes.
Speaking of turds, we're back. Scott and I with the guys from the Husker Podcast. -1, of course, because Tyler's just a turd and decided he didn't want to be here. But Honke from the Go Big Redcast decided he did want to be here, though I'm not exactly sure why. But we appreciate it. And welcome to the third episode of the Big Red Roundtable. We are going to talk specifically about spring camp storylines tonight. And I'm really hoping that when we're all said and done, this is not going to give the entire live streaming community a giant, sorry guys, brown eye. I wish Redcast Rob was here, but apparently he's in the mountains of Colorado, and that's the way it goes. But thanks for joining us tonight, Honke, and putting up with the, well, crappy, cheesy jokes I like to do because apparently Coach Frost does too. And welcome to the roundtable, dude.
All right, thanks. And Redcast Rob is here in spirit. That's his cardboard cutout from PBA a year ago.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, so I know I've heard the story before, Matt. How the Redcast got started. Why don't you let everybody know, all three of them, or zero actually right now, and the 200 or 300 that might watch it on Twitter later, how the Redcast got started and how you guys know each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all originally from Columbus, the original gang of us. And there's actually like 7 total. We have a couple guys that are kind of behind the scenes that do graphics, and we have a producer, Skip, and everything. But it was originally Mac, myself, and then Dave and Boomer. And then we started in April of 2017. So Riley's last year during spring ball. And so we've got to experience Riley's last season and then all these 4 glorious years too. So it's just been losing season after losing season. But try to keep things positive, try to look at the bright side of certain situations and try to find progress where you can. That's kind of what our show has mostly been about. That was really hard after the Illinois game last year. And as I was telling you guys before we started, that was Mac's pretty much last show. We played Illinois and we went out there. It was Redcast Rob and Mac and I, and go to the game. And on the way back, he was like, "I'm done." he was just done with the losses. So Redcast Rob is now taking Mac's shoes there, and it's Rob, Boomer, Dave, and I, and it's 4 buddies that love Husker athletics. We focus mainly on football, men's basketball, and baseball. That's traditionally what we do, but we try to talk about some of the other sports a little bit here and there too. We're not exactly, I wouldn't call us experts at the first 3, but we're certainly not at the other sports. Those are the ones we know the best, at least.
All righty. Well, that's awesome, man. I know I've been listening to you guys since I believe the Go Big, or the good Lord, Scott, I'm doing what you do. The Big Red Cobcast mentioned you guys on one of their shows one time in early 2018. I had just come back out on the road as a truck driver, and I was finding every Husker podcast I could that I could stand. And they mentioned you, and I downloaded and I listened. Believe it or not, I tortured myself with every show that you did from the 2017 season because I wanted, Scott and I had kind of been thinking about doing podcast stuff for a bit, and I was just kind of researching too, kind of how to do all this. And I still suck at it, but I found the way you approach each game, the way you approach each season, interesting because you've definitely got 4 distinct characters on the show that have distinct differences in how they approach looking at Husker football. But mostly you guys were audio up until just recently in the last couple months, right? You guys have just started doing the live stream element.
Yeah, I was actually talking with you about that, about the StreamYard. I'd never heard of StreamYard before. And when you kind of explained it, it made life a lot easier. Plus it gave us this new avenue. And so we've started to build up our YouTube channel. So everything's at Go Big Redcast, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now YouTube. And it gives us a chance to go and live stream. Tuesday night, we're going to be talking with Steve Sipple. We'll be live streaming that at 8:30. And then it's posted out there for anyone to watch. And then usually the next day is when we will post the audio podcast. That's through the Hurrdat Media Network. So we're part of that network. And so we'll post it usually the next day, and then you can listen to it through your podcast platform of choice.
That's awesome, man. How did the Herd at Media deal come along? How did that manifest itself? Did you get hooked up with people that were connected to it, or they'd happen to notice your content, or how did that go?
I think, yeah. I think it was one of those things. They either kind of a combination of them listening to us, and then also they just kind of, our social media were active, and so we're constantly connecting with people. And then if you ask Redcast Rob, he'd say he's the one that sealed the deal. He will always name drop, or he's the one that did the work. So you got to give Rob that credit, and he did. He made some contacts for us. Actually, they contacted us. They contacted him, and then whatever, a couple meetings later, and next thing we know, we're hooked up with them, and they've been great. They own Hail Varsity, and Hail Varsity we're real big on that. With we just talked with Brandon Vogel, the managing editor of that last week, and a lot of great connections over there.
Yes, absolutely. Do you think Redcast Rob working in print media helped make that connection possible because of the people he knew in the media circles?
He would definitely tell you that. I don't know. I don't know all the background details, but but yeah, we had him listed as our business contact before he became an official, one of the 4 on-air members. And then we also do have a kind of a separate show that he's been doing, the Betcast. And one nice thing about this StreamYard is you can create all these different brands, and we've got other ideas that we've been talking about where we might have other little offshoots of the Redcast, maybe in some different ways. And we're kind of exploring those too.
Well, that's exactly what this is, Honke, is the fact that the Big Red Roundtable is us hanging out with the Cuzcast for an excuse to just drink a little on screen and talk Husker football and invite other people in to kind of be a part of it. And then Scott and I, of course, are going to hop on here and do our Generation Red podcast next month for the spring game, and then also starting in August again. So I love StreamYard. I love what they offer. I love the fact that I can just download our audio when I'm done, process it, and pop it out onto our podcast app. So, hey guys, anybody else here on the stream have any questions for Honke from the Redcast at all?
Well, there is a segment of the Generation Red podcast that we have. I'm going to put you on the spot here. But one of the segments that we have in our regular season podcast is the Fun Facts segment, where Dad and I just come up with some random fact about ourselves that it doesn't necessarily need to be fun. It's just fun facts. And just so that our podcasting audience can get to know us a little bit better and get to know who Scott is and get to know who Ken is and whatnot. So, Honke, what would be a fun fact about yourself that you would like our audience to know?
Well, I tried out to be a manager on the team coming out of high school. It had been my senior year, 94. So it would have been it would have been the spring of 95. I was trying out to be a manager on the football team, the Husker team, when Behringer and Frazer were going through their battle their senior year. Frazer was even returning punts, because if you remember at that time too, they were trying to get him some NFL eyes, and he wasn't going to return punts during the actual season, of course, but in practice, at least give him some practice with that, and maybe that's something that he could boost his draft stock a little bit. So one of the roles being manager, I'm on the field and I'm handing the ball to Aaron Graham, who is the deep snapper, to Jesse Cush, who I played with at Scotus. And Cush is the punter, and he punts it, and he's kicking it to the different returners, Reggie Ball and all those guys. And one time Frazer catches it, and they catch it, they do a little move, run about 10 yards, and then they throw the ball back to one of us, and then we give the ball to Aaron Graham, and we just keep repeating the process. And there was one time where the punt goes to Frazer, he catches it, he does a couple little moves, and then all of a sudden he kind of stops, he's ready to pop and throw it to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing catch with Tommy Frazer, he's going to throw me the ball here. And he winds up and throws the worst pass I've ever seen. I mean, it went up here, and I just caught it up there, and I can't believe I caught it. And he just looked at me and he went like that, and I was like, wow, that was a once in a lifetime opportunity. But I had to stretch for it, and But anyways, that's my Husker fandom has been there from the beginning. My first memories, I was a first grader and watching the Orange Bowl, the 2-point conversion game in 83, 84.
Yeah.
And that's really my first year of of watching Husker football from start to finish was the scoring explosion year. So I remember every single thing from the 44-6 victory over Penn State in the inaugural kickoff classic all the way to the Orange Bowl and everything in between. And that's, for me, probably one of the reasons I'm the type of fan I am, is I got accustomed to, hey, you're number one from start to finish. You have the Outland winner, the Lombardi winner, the Heisman winner, the first and second picks in the next year's draft. I mean, all those things. And it just, I think that was a way that kicked off my fandom.
Hey, Honke, was Tommy Frazer a better returner or was he a better passer?
Well, he caught all the punts. So, I mean, I give him credit there. The thing with him as a passer, he made some throws that not every quarterback could make. You think about that 2-point conversion to Eric Alford requiring, I mean, you had to throw a laser between probably, 10 different canes, and he can do it. He can complete that. But there's other ones, you go back and watch some of those old games and it's painful. Sometimes the accuracy on other plays weren't there. And he was, I think it was Sporting News, if I remember right, Sporting News had him as the quarterback of the century. And I don't know how you can argue it. I mean, he was 33-3 as a starter, and he was the only guy to ever be the MVP in 3 straight national championship games. I mean, unbelievable stats. And yet he wasn't a career 50% completion guy. He was 49 point something.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to be a 49% completion guy, but yet to be the number one quarterback of the century. And again, I don't disagree with that. I think it shows, the quarterback is more than just throwing a ball from here to there. It's you're the distributor, you're the leader. And I mean, the guy was flat out a winner. He wasn't always the most liked guy on the team, but man, the dude just won.
Absolutely. You mentioned the 1983 season and the Orange Bowl. That was, I was 16 years old. I lived in Arizona. I was born and raised in Arizona. And that Orange Bowl was the day I became a Husker fan for life because Tom Osborne went for 2.
Yep.
That made me a fan for life. And then I met my wife, who's a farmer's daughter from Giltner, like 6 years later, 5-6 years later, when she moved to Arizona, of all things, and then dragged my ass up here to the frozen tundra a few years later. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a great story, man. You tried out to be a manager.
I'll tell you my fun fact. I drink entirely too much because I don't remember any of this shit.
Yeah, well, I don't think you hold a candle to Justin, but that's just me. Well,
I know
he does live in
remember.
Waco. There's a reason he drinks. He lives in freaking Waco. So
he doesn't rember our podcast the next day usually.
Yeah,
he's always one of our listens because he always has to go back and listen to what we talked about.
Who's Tommy Frazer again?
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, I suppose we should move into the show and talk about the stuff that all 0 of our viewers want to watch us talk about.